wide range of storylines has emerged about the bid to bring the 2024 Olympics to Boston. Some proclaim the city a wicked good venue. Others point to lessons learned by cities that tried but failed to host the games. And then there are those who declare the Olympiad itself is broken, like National Public Radio commentator Frank Deford.
Hey, Boston, you think the curse the Bambino is bad just because it messed up a silly baseball team for most of a century? Hold the Olympics, and the curse of the IOC will bring down the whole city for a millennium. Boston says it can hold the games for $4.5 billion. Oh, sure. And they're selling six-packs of Sam Adams beer for $1.25 in heaven.
Detractors aside, the group leading the charge to bring the Olympics here, Boston 2024, has laid out an ambitious plan. And joining me to talk more about those efforts is Dan O'Connell, the president of Boston 2024 and CEO of the group Massachusetts Competitive Project. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Thanks, Adam. Glad to be here.
Are you surprised by pushback like we just heard from Frank Deford and pushback closer to home?
No, I'm not at all. Just the larger pushback on the international scene. Sochi hurt the Olympic brand. An oligarch putting on a $51 billion show for ego purposes. And that's why this Boston 2020 report that the International Olympic Committee came out with, which talks about a sustainable Olympics, a temporary venues, a more reasonable Olympics in terms of cost and experience for people. And that's the model we've tried to follow here in Boston.
The Nation magazine reported, and it was a second or third hand report, but Dave Zirin, who writes for The Nation, wrote that he had spoken with someone connected with the International Olympic Committee who said the IOC liked Boston in part because we did such a good job locking down the city after the Boston Marathon bombings. Is there anything to that report?
I think safety and security is certainly an important element of the Games. The Games are a national special security event, so the state, the Secret Service coordinates the security at all levels of government. And I think we showed a high level of coordination among local, state, public enforcement in the unfortunate tragedy of the marathon bombing. So I'm sure it was noted internationally.
Boston 2024 announced today that you're going to be making a full presentation to the public and reviewing all the bid documents with the media on January 21st. What does that mean exactly? What's the full presentation to the public going to be, and what is reviewing bid documents with the media mean?
So the full presentation is the presentation that we made to the Olympic Committee in California in Redwood City in December. We're going to have the same cast of characters, which were Sherry Blowett, a Boston Marathon winner in the Paralympic event, the wheelchair event, and David Manfredi, and then Chancellor Keith Motley, who's the Chancellor of University of Massachusetts Boston, who represented the university community. People will see exactly the presentation that we made to the U.S. Olympic Committee, and then we're going to show the documents. It's not a bid yet. The bid starts now with the partnership of the USOC to put a bid together for the International Olympic Committee.
So when you say you'll be showing the documents, you'll be allowing members of the media to look at the documents that were used?
We will be.
Okay. Why not just distribute the documents that were used, or why not put them up online?
Right. The documents are at this point not where we are in the iterations moving forward of where the bid's going. They were really proof of concept, and we started right away with the staff from the USOC who've been in town since Friday to put together the bid moving forward. So they're not current, and I think we want to give people current information and get their feedback on that information.
But even if they're not current, I mean, if you just made that point and said, you know, these are dated, we have advanced beyond this, but here's what we showed the USOC, I think a lot of people would like to see those. So couldn't dating and providing that context take care of that concern?
I think it's time to move forward with the real bid now, and we feel that the discussions can be most productively focused on that, and that's why these 9 community meetings that the mayor has announced around the neighborhoods in Boston.
I want to ask you about those, but when the media reviews the documents that we've been talking about, will we be able to take pictures of the documents? Will photography be allowed?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. The 9 public meetings, I know Mayor Walsh has said he really wants to get the public involved in this conversation. He told me a few weeks back that he didn't think there had been enough public involvement to date. Is there anything that the mayor and members of Boston 2024 could hear at those 9 meetings or elsewhere that would lead this bid to not go forward, that would make you and other organizers say, you know, the public has spoken, and they're really not on board with this.
I think there'll be a lot of comments that will lead us to modify the bid as it goes forward. We have alternative sites for almost every venue. If a community is interested in a site, if a university is interested in a permanent facility, I think we'll look at that. But the momentum for the effort moving forward is pretty strong right now. On the night of the announcement, there were 85 million social media actions, tweets, and Facebook around the world mentioning Boston in 2024.
But that's 85 million things around the world. I mean, so just to be clear, there's no way that the public could weigh in and say, we don't want these games, and make you and other organizers say, we're going to drop this. The outcome's been decided. It's a question of fine-tuning it or redirecting it?
I think it's a question of putting the best bid forward that we can as the City of Boston.
Okay.
And I've been on this for quite a while, starting with the Feasibility Commission, overwhelming support in the city for pursuing this effort.
Am I right that we're talking about a potential $5 billion investment on the part of the state in infrastructure, right, to make the games happen?
So the operating budget for the games is about $4.5 billion approximately dollars. That's from revenues from broadcast sources, from corporate sponsorships and ticket sales. On top of that, there are infrastructure investments that the state has already decided to make. And those investments can benefit the games, and we've tried to locate venues near those investments.
Let me ask you about those investments. Some people have argued that because that is a big number, the state should be able to vote on the games. We talked to Evan Falchuk, the former gubernatorial candidate, and he made that exact point. Let's take a listen.
This affects everybody in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. To the extent taxpayer money will be used for these purposes, taxpayers have a right to have a say in this. The process that took place, which involved submitting a bid to the U.S. Olympic Committee, has already happened. And so we have been selected as the U.S. choice. Now Massachusetts voters are being required to go through this public process. It's exactly backwards. It's a little bit like Alice in Wonderland, where it's verdict after, sentence first.
So how about a statewide vote?
Basic misunderstanding by Mr. Falchuk. These are investments in infrastructure that the legislator, the elected representatives, already decided to make. They're not being made for the Olympics.
There was actually a report today in the Dorchester Reporter that some of the investments involving the Olympic Village at UMass Boston, the renovation of Kosciuszko Circle, and JFK UMass, that organizers have said that was in this bond bill that Governor Patrick signed last April, but they've reviewed the bond bill and those investments aren't in there. What's the story there?
Those are additional investments in infrastructure that elected officials in that neighborhood have suggested.
But they're not, no commitment's been made yet to fund those, right?
No, and they are not essential to running the games. They would make the games run more smoothly, but more importantly, there'd be lasting improvements for those neighborhoods. The Kosciuszko Circle is a real problem in South Boston.
Lastly, briefly, why should Boston vote on a casino but not on the games?
A casino, it requires state action. There's a licensing authority that's been put together by the legislature.
Process in place. All right, Dan O'Connell, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Adam, thank you.